Hi, I'm Lisa Canning from Lisa Canning Interiors, and today I'm sharing 4 podcasts that will change your life. I am an avid podcast listener. I used to hate driving just because I found it tiring and a waste of time, kind of, even though you need to do it to get to your destination. But when I discovered podcasts, honestly, my whole perspective on driving changed. And now I love it because I really do see it as alone time for me, as an investment in time for me to just invest in my own personal growth and business tactics. So I'd love to share with you 4 podcasts that absolutely changed my life and I think will change yours too. The first podcast that changed my life is This Is Your Life by Michael Hyatt. In this podcast, he talks a lot about intentional leadership, productivity, work-life balance, platform building. It's a great podcast for anybody who is trying to launch a platform, so be a speaker or a writer or simply get more visibility for their business. But I think it's also a great podcast for people who care about leadership and living with integrity. He covers topics that I think, really he makes you think hard about designing your life and living with intention. And I have been listening to his podcast since 2013, so I really recommend his. So that's the first podcast that will change your life. The second podcast that I absolutely love is the Smart Passive Income podcast by Flynn. Now, this is definitely one that I think business owners or anyone who's trying to, monetize the internet or just, run a business that is online will benefit from. But I also think people, even if you don't run a business or are not on the internet at all, would benefit from it because he encourages you to think big. He encourages you to think what is possible. He tells very cool stories of regular everyday people who had a great idea and then just worked really hard and took one step and then another step and then another step in order to get towards their goal. So even if you don't run a business or don't have any kind of an internet platform, I think you would enjoy that podcast. The third podcast that has changed my life and I think would be helpful to you too is Story Brand by Donald Miller. Donald Miller is an author. He wrote a book called Scary Close that I love as well. And he's developed this sort of, like a strategy or an approach to marketing that I think is very novel and really on point. And it's all about making your customer the hero in the story. He has so much philosophy on that, and he expands on all of that on the podcast, bringing in really cool special guests, favorite guests that I have heard that I learned about, that I wouldn't have learned about if I didn't listen to his podcast. Claire Diaz-Ortiz, who was one of the, founding people over at Twitter, and she writes about designing your life and building a schedule. And then Scott Hamilton, the figure skater, and all the things that he did in order to overcome adversity as well as sort of work towards his goal of a gold medal. So that's another really cool one. The fourth podcast that has really impacted my life is the 5 a.m. Miracle by Jeff Sanders. 5 a.m. Miracle. So I used to be, and to be honest, I'm still really struggling with this, but I used to work well into the night, like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. sometimes. And I'll be very honest, I still sometimes do that. But then I was really challenged to completely flip that around, go to bed early and wake up early and actually work really early in the morning before anyone else was up. And that really changed my life. So he shares in his podcast strategies for doing that successfully. He shares things about productivity, about leadership as well, but really about how you can start your day off right and how that can have an amazing trickle effect on your family and your work. And I can definitely personally attest to that because I think I'm a better wife and mother when I have been able to be quiet, have a coffee, pray a little bit in the morning, as opposed to rolling out of bed when everyone else is sort of calling me and, whining to get me out and I'm reluctant to get up. I find just the sort of the spring shot of getting up and starting my day while the house is quiet is so helpful in making everyone else's lives better, to be honest, not just mine. So those are the 4 podcasts that have changed my life and I think can change your life too. If you enjoyed this, or if you've got a podcast that you would like to share, please drop it in the comments below. I invite you to subscribe and check out my other tips on productivity, interior design, work-life balance, and personal style over at lisacanning.ca.